Assalamu alaikum, how are you all? I hope you are having a great time. In today's class, I'm going to venture on the aspect of place of articulation. If you slightly reflect back on the previous session, at that time, my object of concern was to explain various consonant sounds with regard to their voiced and voiceless distinction. Now, I'm going to concentrate on the place of articulation. I'll be explaining the various classifications in terms of their places where a particular sound is uttered. Previously, I was trying to elaborate that when they are uttered, whether the vocal folds vibrate or not. Now, I'll go for another type of aspect, and that is where a particular sound is uttered within the oral cavity. So that's my today's lecture. So let's start our discussion. The very first classification that we have is bilabial sounds. If you look at this first category, we have bilabial sound. Now what do we mean by bilabial? The word bi means two, and the word labia stand for lips. So those sounds which are uttered with the help of both lips, upper and lower, they are known as bilabial sounds. Now what are those sounds? We have p, we have b, we have m, and then we have w. Now 1, 2, 3, 4. These four sounds belong to the camp of bilabial sounds. Bi means two, labia means lips. So those sounds which are articulated with the help of a lower lip and upper lip, they are known as bilabial sounds. That's the first classification. Now let's jump to the second classification. The second classification we have is labiodental. Now, identifying the different localities within the oral cavity where a particular sound can be articulated are quite convenient. Why? Because most of the names have been associated with the places itself. So, if you look at the first, labio means lip. Dental means teeth. Now, these sounds are uttered with the help of lower lip and upper teeth. So, lower and upper teeth. Now, what are those sounds? Let me state them. F. The first sound is F. If you look at my mouth, I can utter the sound with the help of a lower lip and upper teeth like F. So F is the first sound. What is the second one? V. F, V. These two belong to the classification of labiodental. So they are labiodental sound. Let's jump to the third category. Dental sounds. Now what are dental sounds? Dental sounds are precisely articulated with the help of teeth, lower and upper teeth. Now how they are uttered? When you look at the classification with the help of two teeth, what do? That we utter two sounds. One is th and the other one is the, like three, through, like three, through, this, that, those. Now, th and the. These type of sounds, dental sounds, are also considered to be interdental. Now, why they are considered to be interdental? The reason is that whenever you try to utter these two sounds, the tip of the tongue comes in between the upper and the lower teeth, like this. If you just slightly focus, I would pronounce them again and you would be observing that how the tip of the tongue is coming in between the upper and the lower teeth. Th, the, th, and the. Now this is how you are supposed to unravel their processes, that how various different types of consonant sounds are uttered or articulated inside the oral cavity. That's the third classification, and they are known as interdental because of the tip of the tongue's involvement in between the upper and the lower teeth. That's the third classification. Let's switch towards the fourth classification. Alveolar sounds. Now, what are alveolar sounds? Alveolar sounds are those sounds which are uttered with the help of the tip of the tongue and the alveolar ridge. So, tip of the tongue and alveolar ridge. They are responsible for the articulation and utterance of the sounds. Now, first, what is a tip of the tongue? We all know that the tip of the tongue is over here. And then, what is an alveolar ridge? If you just focus on the upper teeth, just behind the upper teeth, we have an alveolar ridge. So the sounds that we can pronounce, utter or articulate with the help of the tip of the tongue and alveolar ridge are your alveolar sounds. Now, what are those sounds? Ta, da, sa, za, la, ra. These are your alveolar sounds. Why? When you pronounce them, you can easily feel that the tip of the tongue is touching the alveolar ridge. The first, ta, da, sa, za, la, ra. All of them, whenever you pronounce them, you can easily feel inside your mouth that the tip of the tongue is touching, persistently touching the back of the upper teeth, and that is your alveolar ridge. So that's the fourth classification. Now we are going to jump to the next classification. Palatal sounds. Now, what are palatal sounds? Palatal sounds are uttered with the help of your palate. Now, let's assume this is your palate. For example, this is your roof of the mouth. Now, if you look at this, just behind the upper teeth, we have alveolar ridge, and when you slightly move forward over here, just in the middle we have a palate, and we also call it hard palate. So the sounds that we pronounce with the help of a hard palate, they are known as palatal sounds. Now, what are those sounds? Number one, ch. Number two, jaw. Number three, sh. Number 4, zh. Let me use them in examples like church, judge, shoe, treasure. Now, these are the sounds that we can pronounce with the help of the tongue and the middle part of the roof of the mouth, and that is your hard palate. That is why they are considered to be palatal sounds. What sounds? Palatal sounds. Let's move to the next classification. Velars. The next category we have velars. Now, what is a velar sound? Now, velar sounds are those sounds which are pronounced with the help of the back of the tongue and the velum. Now, where is the back of the tongue? For example, this is your tongue. Now, this is the tip, this is the middle, and this is the back. When this back of the tongue touches the velum, we also call it a soft palate. When the back of the tongue touches the velum, we pronounce or articulate the velar sound. Now, what are the velar sounds? K, G, and anguma sounds. Which sound? Anguma sounds. So, anguma sound, we pronounce anguma sound in words like ringing, G sound, go, K sound, crush, G. Now, these are the three sounds that we pronounce with the help of the back of the tongue and the velum, the soft palate. So this is the 6th classification, and they are velar sounds. Let's move to 7th classification. The 7th category that we have is glottal. Now, glottal sounds are those sounds which are uttered with the help of your glottis, and that's only one phoneme, and that is h sound, like in whose, have. Now, this sound is also called hissing sound, and it is something that can be uttered, articulated without any stoppage of the air stream within the oral cavity, without any impediment or obstruction. That is the hissing sound. Now, this sound does not require any obstruction of air, and there is a relatively free flow of air. So that is the 7th classification. Now, after this, we are going to end this discussion because today my object of concern was place of articulation. So I would like to request you all to stay updated, do subscribe my channel, and wait for the next session where I would be venturing on another topic with regard to manner of articulation. Wish you a very best of luck. Thank you very much.